We have one final question for this panel, and then we'll do a quick transition. But for each of you, kind of as a takeaway remark, the President recently made a lot of comments about Brazil and the United States investing in offshore Brazil so we can then in turn import Brazilian oil and natural gas for the United States, and we're ready users of that commodity. As kind of a sounding board for each of your respective states, has there been, for those that are interested in offshore development, for those that are interested in energy policy development in this country, has there been a little bit of hue and cry from folks individually in the states or collectively across the nation with remarks like that, kind of ignoring our own natural resources and paying attention to natural resources elsewhere? Just go right down the line, Governor Bartlett.
It's inexplicable. I mean, there is no explanation for any American administration to say, much less invest American money, that we want to increase production in a foreign country for that somehow is good for American energy interests. We're not producing what we can in the United States, and I hope Brazil does great. In fact, I want to introduce the chairman of the Angola National Oil Company. Stand up, Manuel Vicente, who is the chairman of Angola. Do business in our state. They got a big facility. We love them. We hope they do well, but damn, we don't want to say quit drilling in the American Gulf of Mexico and drill off Angola. I mean, to me, it's just inexplicable what the administration has said about Petrobras and production, other than we want more production in the world.
We need it all, which is the point before. We can do both. Commissioner Paxson?
I just think most of the folks that I talked to about that when we heard that is to kind of go, nah, he didn't really say that, did he? You know, what? That's basically the response. Moratorium in the Gulf, let's invest in Brazil. And I like Brazil. Nothing against Brazil. But it's just kind of like, could he really say that?
Secretary Angel.
The most amazing thing about that statement to me is the fact that historically natural gas and oil was trading at about an 8-to-1 spread. And today we find natural gas and oil trading at a 25 to 26-to-1 spread. And I know there's at least one application pending in front of the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission to begin to export natural gas out of America, okay, to other areas and perhaps Asia. Can you imagine that our energy policy is to do what we can in Brazil to get crude oil that's priced 26 times to 1 the price of natural gas, again when the historical rate is 78-to-1, and then export our own domestic resource to foreign sources? There's something radically wrong with our energy policy. Absolutely. Radically wrong.
Secretary Dominic.
Well, for us, I note that the President said that he had called Saudi Arabia and asked them to increase their production. He made the statement in Brazil, and from our perspective, all I want him to do is call Ken Salazar and tell him to move forward on this sale 220. That's all he has to do. It's a local call.
Commissioner Sullivan, the last word is yours.
I would just say the President's comments in Brazil, it was bipartisan dismay in Alaska. So Democrats, Republicans, Native Alaskans, non-natives, it was a lot of head scratching and more than that. You know, I do want to say from my previous job as an Assistant Secretary of State in charge of energy issues, it's important to recognize that there is a long-standing tradition in the federal government to work with other countries to encourage increased production overseas. That's been Democrat, Republican administration. But what was so striking here is that's almost always been done in conjunction with encouraging it and developing it in our own country. And the giant disconnect here is you're now encouraging it overseas, but not at home, and that has all kinds of consequences, none of which benefit our own country. And again, I do want to just put a final point on the environmental issue. I think places, certainly like Alaska, there's no place on earth that's more stringent and more, people like me care more about our environment than anyone in Washington. I live in Alaska. And when we don't allow production in our own country. We drive it to overseas, to places where the standards are not nearly as high as ours, and overall the global environment is not helped, it's undermined. And so I'm not sure the President's call, without doing it, without encouraging it at home, seems to be an enormous disconnect on what's good for the country.
Well, Governor, Commissioners, Secretary, thank you all for your leadership. Thanks for the announcement of the OCS Governors Coalition. We look forward to seeing how that rolls out here in the months and weeks to come. Thank you for being here and all your comments. So,
Thank you.